everyone. Welcome to Leftovers. This is a series hosted by Flash Food where we bring in some of the world's brightest minds to come around the table and talk about how they are creating the companies of the future, whether that's in sustainability, tech, any of it, what have you. And like we all know, much like the delicious food in our fridge or our grocery stores or our restaurants, a lot of things get left over, a lot of things get thrown out, a lot of things get forgotten, and in many ways we can apply that to our careers and all the things we do. And so we have the incredible Matt Schwartz today, who's the co-founder of Afresh, a company that I know tons about because we get to share a space together, but you all might not know about it, so Matt will share it, but I'll do my best to open it. I mean, Afresh is an end-to-end platform that is truly revolutionizing what fresh means inside of a grocery store. So everything you see that ends up on shelves, the way it's planned, the way it arrives, how long it stays, all of that is something that Afresh will touch, and they are doing everything to not only make better business in retail, but also eliminate food waste. Hopefully I did justice, Matt, for the work you do, but if you want to take a second and introduce yourself and Afresh, that would be incredible.
Yeah, no, you did great, and it's awesome to be here. And I'm Matt, co-founder and CEO of Afresh. My background is in food, and working in food, I came to deeply believe in the strategic value and the importance of fresh food in particular. And knowing that we'll talk about fresh food a lot, Jordan, it's in our definition of it, produce, meat, seafood, baked goods, deli goods, prepared foods, the highly perishable stuff. It's what people want to eat, and it's what really sets apart a brick and mortar grocer from online competitors that struggle in fresh food. And despite its importance, we observed that most of the technology in retail and supply chain and merchandising and more was built for non-perishable stuff in the center of the store, things like Cheerios and Coke. And so that in turn caused these massive problems, way more manual decisions, less automation, less optimization, and that would all result in a ton of food waste, but also food that's less fresh than it could be and lower sales. And so the simple thesis that we had that is underneath of fresh is the future of food is fresh, the technology is not. If we could build a fresh food first technology company, we could massively reduce food waste and multiply the profitability of grocers and other food companies at the same time. We started in store ordering, some of the things you were talking about, getting the right amount of food in the store for every item every day. And we've since expanded across the supply chain and into some other functions as well. So we're excited to be here. And I think now, as of now, we've signed by revenue about 20% of the US market as customers. So we're really excited to be doing this at scale and learning a lot along the way.
You've been on such an amazing journey. What was like in the entrepreneur's journey, what was the aha? Was it as simple as like you saw the figures in a business school classroom, or was there like a moment in time when you were just like, this problem needs to stop? Like, or maybe a combo of both?
So I think we had the broad thesis again, like fresh was really important, underserved. But the question was like, where do we start to solve that problem? And we, as grad students, this is 8, 9 years ago now, me and my
It
co-founder Nathan.
wasn't truly in grad school. I was just like picking a random thing out there.
No, I didn't think it's like, oh, this guy gives that like academic nerdy type vibe, so it must be that. But no, we were in grad school. We were at Stanford. We had this thesis about fresh food, and in the second year, we talked to about 200 companies up and down the fresh food supply chain. Everything ranging from seed growers to actual growers to distributors and grocers. And there was a ton of problems. We had a ton of different ideas. One of the most interesting ones, though, is we went into like a really big national scale grocer, and this is a brand, and like we went and they were out of almost all their produce. There's like no broccoli, no lettuce, and we're like, what the heck happened here? They're cleaned out, and it's the middle of a day on a Tuesday. And we go to the produce manager, and we're like, hey, what happened here? You've got no food on the shelves. And he's like, well, it was a Tuesday, last weekend it rained, and I kind of didn't order enough. And we're like, what do you mean you didn't order enough? Like, don't you have a computer to do that? It's 2017. And he's like, no, I do it right here. Like, and he took us to this produce order workbook. It looked like an Excel sheet that was printed out. And sure enough, every day he wrote down inventory and how much to order. And we went to every grocery store around this area, and they were all using the same book basically as this guy. And then the real aha moment, which is actually in some ways an entrepreneur, shows you the strength of my co-founder versus me. We then called the VP of that same chain. We said, hey, like, what's going on? You got no technology to do this thing. And he's like, no, we do. We have an ordering system. And my reaction was like, oh crap, like we're screwed.
Life
There's
is
no
good.
idea here. They've solved it. My co-founder was like, well, actually, we saw one thing in real life at the store. We saw another thing. We're hearing another thing from an executive. And what turned out to be the case is that they had an ordering system for Cheerios. The executives thought they were getting use out of it at store and fresh, but they weren't. And that was the core of the opportunity. So I actually, in that moment, was like, there's nothing here. My co-founder was like, hey, this is it. And it turned out that the latter was the case, fortunately.
I mean, that's pretty amazing. What does fresh sort of the outcome of fresh mean to you? I mean, as an entrepreneur, you've got to rationalize this. Like, what does it do for the stores, for communities? Like, talk to me a little bit about the heart of the outcomes that you all get to create.
Yeah. The mission of our company is to eliminate food waste and make fresh food accessible to all. And if I talk about it for me, I got into food because as a kid, I was a finicky eater. I struggled with weight. I was not the best version of myself. And that eating better was something that enabled me to become a better version of myself. And so I always wanted to give that back. My first idea entrepreneurially was actually to use food science to make processed food healthier for people, to make more satiating foods using food science that are low calorie and affordable for the masses. And actually did start that company. It was a snack food company called Stat Foods. But in grad school, I gained exposure to this hidden divide in the food industry where you've got row crops and the processed foods that are derived from them. And then you've got specialty crops and more perishable fresh foods. And I was trying to make processed food healthier because it tends to be more obesogenic and drive worse health outcomes and overeating. But fresh food is inherently more experiential, nutritious, healthier. It also happens to be really wasteful. And for animal proteins, there's big animal welfare implications to like killing animals that don't need to be if we don't waste the food. And so the my attention kind of shifted from, which I think is still a good mission, make processed food healthier for people. And a lot of companies are working on that, and processed food is really important as well. But fresh food, if we can make it more efficient, we could bring down waste, which is great for the environment. We can also bring down the cost of it, make it easier to purvey, and you'd find more retailers, more different kinds of retailers selling more fresh food at a lower cost, which means that there's more nutritious experiential food accessible to more people. So you're driving health outcomes, environmental outcomes, animal welfare outcomes, and that meant focusing on fresh food was a true area where you could drive massive social impact
Yeah.
and build a scalable, profitable business at the same time.
And so your technology, which is obviously you're dealing with big data, you're in the realm of AI, all of the fun things that go into that world. How have you looked at like call it the human side of fresh merchandising? Like how does your company like rationalize the like I need the tower of apples? And like
Yeah.
are you working is there an aspect of what you're doing that's like coaching them to, is it more diverse like you're dealing with all of these like openings in the shelf and it's just like it's this crazy puzzle that once you know it on our side it's like who's like how do you solve for that, and I don't like how like, do you build for that like in sort of how you think about getting
Mhm.
folks to understand their shelves, right? It's just it's so fascinating to me. Maybe it's like you've solved it and I should know the product better, but yeah.
No, I mean, it's hard, I think, and this is something we believe fresh food is inherently extremely different than center store. It's the whole premise of the company. And a lot of that comes down to the art of human decision making and less of the science of it. And we think about fresh as almost a business within a business that's totally different. And if you look at how a grocer operates, they actually organize themselves differently, where fresh merchants will sit in their own organization and merchandising, but they'll also kind of sit with buyers and operations people. It all comes together in like a fresh business. And we've then said, like, why is that the case? And there's so many different decisions on how to merchandise, how to assort your products, how to price them, how to promote them. What vendors do you work with? What quality bar do you have? How do you make the store look beautiful? where there are so many of those kind of human elements at play. And that's historically what precluded the digitization and the application of AI and these computer systems to the department. And so what we've then said is, what are the core capabilities of the company that we need to have to win in Fresh and succeed? And there's more, there's a lot, but there's the three big ones we'd say are, there is AI. So we do want to automate and optimize as many decisions as we can, because for any grocer, labor, the efficiency of their departments and their work is critical and just existential. So you do want to do as much optimization of the decisions that a computer can do that you can. And that also requires the second pillar, which is fresh data know-how. Fresh data is like the Wild West. It's super messy, and a lot of it is not even digitized. So yeah, that's a whole nother thing. But to your question, the third pillar we call human-centered design, which is that even if we automate a lot of tasks, there's going to be review of some things and then some decisions that the person is just going to be way better at doing. An example of this that I really like is one of our newer customers told a story of their fresh buyers, and they were normally so overloaded with work. They're trying to determine how many truckloads of blueberries to order, that they don't actually have the time to go find the blueberry farmer that's making the next varietal that's super sweet. But one of their buyers, or two of them, were like so proactive, they got their day job done fast enough that they were able to then go source a new blueberry provider, get a varietal that tasted amazing, lock an exclusive relationship and contract with that vendor, bring those blueberries into the store, delight their customers, and drive massive sales. And like, there's pieces of that latter piece that AI and I think more of the generative stuff will eventually help drive more efficiencies in as well. But foundationally, it's the automation of the more rote stuff that just computers are better at, that then frees people up to do the creative task of finding a new fresh vendor, negotiating a new deal, promoting it in an amazing way, providing that customer experience. And so in that way, we can maintain the art of fresh while automating and optimizing more of the science.
Is there also an outcome for like our small farmers and folks that are sort of on the edge case of big food, if you will? And that's always a big part of like the fresh, whether you're dealing with meat, dairy, etc. Like there's the distribution issue of like who's getting the call to fill the shelf, or the network effect of that. Like that's the other thing I guess that we hear a lot, and I know I'm sure you do as well.
Yeah, I'd say it's difficult to say. I think the way I would put it is, in everybody's job and like everybody's life, everyone is busy. Like, you've got so many things to do, and there's a lot entailed to just like keep the lights on. And what the promise of a lot of the old kind of automation oriented AI is that you can free up time, and then you can then choose to use that time. I think one of the cool things about the new AI technology, more around more modern AI, is they can drive those efficiencies that free them up to go talk to the small farmer, but they can also, you can help make a better decision. Like, if help me understand, like, how many blueberries did I sell last year when I was also selling raspberries from this small farmer on this promotional price? Like, what would you recommend I do now, and tee up options for that? So I think we're entering an era where we're going to be able to automate more and more stuff. And that in turn means that we can get more and more creative and level up the types of things we do. And yeah, one of those could be spending more time sourcing product from
Yeah,
smaller farms and things like that.
that's super cool. So on the entrepreneur's journey, when was the time that you got it totally wrong? And what did it feel like? What did it feel like? Be real. I mean, the leftovers is a big part of this. Like,
Yeah.
was there ever a time when you were, and it could have been in the early stages of like when you're building product market fit, like what was
Yeah.
that moment that either sort of radically changed you as a leader or radically changed the business?
I've just never gotten anything. I think the most important thing in business is just to always make the right move, is something. And so I just always, I'm just kidding.
100%.
No, yeah, you got a chest set behind you. I think just, you always want to just make the infamous checkmate, just always do the checkmate, stupid jokes aside. Yeah, I've made like a bunch of mistakes. I think that for me, they tend to center around conflict and avoidance of conflict. And I actually think we did a really good job in the early days of finding product market fit, sourcing a problem that was genuine, that had a lot of potential to solve. I think that we could have solved it much faster, if I, as a leader, had built a stronger accountability culture within the company. I think I'm in some ways, if I say it myself, a stereotypically like nice guy. My executive coach says empathy and accountability are not mutually exclusive. It's possible to be really kind and empathetic to someone, but also to hold an extremely high bar and expectations and be clear about those and have both. I think that's an ideal culture. And for people that are high performers and high performing leaders, they want to work in a culture where, yeah, they're cared for and empathized with, but they also have the opportunity to do something great and have like a really high bar of expectations. And so I think some of the moments where I've really struggled is in not being clear about my expectations and setting a really high bar and maybe just thinking it and sitting on it and then not and like watching people flounder as I don't actively set that expectation, and then ultimately, yeah, not driving an accountability culture in that way. And that might not be the most glamorous answer, but like that I would say is thematically my biggest kind of early learning as an entrepreneur that I've since worked to really correct, and something that I'm still to this day really trying to lean into.
I think it's a really beautiful answer, so don't knock yourself for it, because it is a big part of the journey. I mean, people are so much of this, and you've got a vision, but you're never going to do it alone, and that's the fact. What is something that like you totally like was an insane success and you never maybe thought it would be, or maybe you knew because you knew along? Like, what's been one of those ones where you're like, wow, I'm. It could be as a leader, it could be within the business where you were just like that was like it went beyond your expectations.
I think that the first sale of I mean, I guess if I take a step back, I'm obviously, we have ambitions to run the global fresh supply chain. And so when I'm self-critical, I grade on a very hard scale. I'm obviously very proud of the scale at which we're operating our business today. I think thousands and thousands of store departments around the country use Afresh to order all of their food into it. We've expanded from produce to every single fresh category. And we're on a run rate basis preventing over 100 million pounds of food waste a year. So there's massive things to be proud of there on the realization of our mission, even if I still think we're in the early innings of our journey. We're a sizable, meaningful company that have shifted the way that the industry thinks about fresh technology. And that is something that's awesome. I think specific moments that I'm proud of are probably the first sale of our first store ordering product to the first grocer, and the next sale of our next product to the next grocer. I think this is a tough industry and it has every reason to be. Grocers operate on such slim margins. Their appetite for risk and innovation is understandably low normally, because if they make a bet on something, they can only make so many bets. And if they get it wrong, there's real penalties to that for their business or for their careers. And so I think being able to affect change in this industry that has the natural bent towards being risk averse, but as a result, which has so much upside and so much impact if you can change the way it operates, is probably the thing that I'm the most proud of.
Well, we're getting close to the end, and like I told you at the beginning, this whole show is about the leftovers. You and I stare at giant waste data every single day. We also probably have fridges. Mine's probably bigger than yours because I'm in California and you're in New York. But I bet there's something in that fridge that is sitting there as a leftover. Are you going to eat it or are you going to toss it? And what is it?
Right now, I have a dozen eggs that I bought prior to going on a trip, and then mistakenly ordered an extra dozen eggs. So I've got 24 eggs in my fridge and a shot clock going. So I think that I need to devise like some baked good to make, or some kind of,
High volume
pot.
egg dish.
Yeah, something with a lot of eggs is
You have
the
to do that
answer.
fast. Okay. I
Or I could do like a Gaston type thing, and
go for
just
it.
house like 8 raw eggs down, which is,
5 dozen eggs, or what does he say, every day to help him
I forget what it was, but something that makes him, more masculine
strong,
and
makes
strong
him
than, yeah.
strong. So I've been in this predicament before. It's actually a very bougie predicament to be in this day and age.
No, seriously,
Not a cheap
what a
mistake.
flex.
So there's ways that you could do it. Pisco sours. You could have a pisco sour party.
Okay.
Really easy way to crank, which then, because you have egg whites, the yolks can go to banana pudding, which is kind of unhealthy, or you do a quiche. Because quiche
Okay.
can knock out like 6 eggs, so you could have a whole brunch. Like you've got a brunch here that's like it's ready to be planned.
A
Those are
boozy brunch.
heavy egg users. I got you a cocktail, a dessert, and a dinner right there.
I mean, I look, this is worth the price of
Who
admission.
needs
I'll do, yeah, I'll do all the podcasts now, if I get this kind of return.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. The work is incredible. Your guys' growth is astronomical, and you are on the path to changing this industry, and it's awesome. And yeah, I'm a fan, and I'm here.
I'm a fan. It goes both ways. And yeah, thanks so much for having me on. I feel like I'd love to hear the version of this where you're the one being interviewed, but because Flash Food is so amazing. But anyways, thank you for having me on. It's been awesome.
Of course.